programs that we use here at Wolf Canyon throughout the content area. So in reading, we have Achieve 3000 and AR. In math, we have Dreambox and Think Central, or sometimes called Go Math, and Reflex. In writing and spelling, some of the teachers use Storybird.com to write stories, and then Vocabulary Spelling City for some spelling and vocabulary practice. And then for students who are learning the English language, they have Imagine Learning to help them with that English language development. So for math, the two big ones are Dreambox and Reflex. Dreambox is all about concepts, conceptual development. It has a variety of standards. Reflex is more about fact fluency, so it's all about learning and mastering those addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division facts. Dreambox, you can look for little check marks with numbers to see that your student has completed lessons. And the goal is to complete between 5 and 8 lessons per week, including home and school use. And then for Reflex, it's really important that students stay on the program until that green light turns on, and then it'll count that as a session, a completed session. So moving on to reading. AR uses a point leveling system. So it starts with 0.9 and it goes all the way to 7.0 and beyond. And so the first digit is for the grade level, the second digit tells you the month within that grade level. And both of these programs are used for reading comprehension to practice all those reading comprehension skills in fiction and nonfiction. So a little bit more about Achieve 3000 and KidBiz. Students take the level set at the beginning, in December, and at the end of the year. This is the reading test for the district. It'll give them their Lexile level. It's expected that this is independent work, so students are doing this pretty much on their own with some support from parents at home, more guidance in terms of using all the features. And then the goal for students is to pass the activities with 75% or more, at least 2 activities per week. Students get 2 tries, but only the first one counts. The second one doesn't really get looked at in terms of Lexile adjustments. So at the end of every month, the program looks at all of the activities that students have completed, and it'll adjust depending on how well or how poorly they did on the activities. And there's the Lexile bands per grade level, some resources for you to look at. So for reading, we have Achieve 3000, sometimes called KidBiz, and AR, Accelerated Reader. So Achieve 3000 is all about nonfiction articles. They can use it at home and at school. They are leveled by what we call Lexile.
So here at Wolf Canyon, how does your child get certified GATE? So if your child does not get certified GATE, there's a way that we do that. One is in 3rd grade. All students in 3rd grade take a test called the Raven test. It's a visual spatial test, nonverbal test, and when they get a score, a high score on that test, they get passed on to the next level, and that is now teacher recommendation and some points on, if, for example, if they are English language learners or maybe they have a learning disability, they'll get some points for those. And then it then moves on to the process through there, and then the students would then be considered either GATE or not GATE. So if those students are considered GATE, those students would get a letter in the mail sent home whether they're GATE or not. So you would get a letter saying, yes, my child is GATE, or no, my child did not qualify for GATE. Students that are 4th, 5th, and 6th graders can be retested if they have been tested before, or if they have not yet been tested. For example, if they went to a different school that never tested them for GATE. But that happens in the spring of the year, and they also go through the same process. So they take the Raven test also, and they get a teacher recommendation if they get a passing score, and then it moves on to whether they qualify or not qualify. And so our students, if your student has, for example, if you're from a different school and they have been tested for GATE in another location, you could always bring that letter in to make sure that our office knows to get you on the GATE list. Okay, so that's just something to know. Mr. Lee?
A little tidbit for 6th grade. So when we send our kids off to middle school, being certified GATE has its advantages. One of the advantages is if they get that record and they see the little check mark for GATE, they automatically have priority into accelerated classes. And as you know, there aren't many accelerated classes. So as a guarantee for GATE students in Sweetwater, before they even step foot on campus, they are placed in at least one accelerated class. It could be science, it could be math, it could be reading. So, you know, having that GATE check mark has its advantages as well, and it goes all the way up through high school.
And then, so now what? Your child has been qualified for GATE. What do we do next? So we do a couple of things here at Wolf Canyon. The first is differentiation within the classroom. This is what Mrs. Lafferty will be talking about. And then we offer some extracurricular programs after or before school.
So as far as differentiation goes at Wolf Canyon, we differentiate for all students, whether they are struggling readers or working on basic math skills, or they are GATE students who need to be pushed and deepen their understanding of a basic idea, or extend beyond that knowledge and basic application that we're striving for. So a lot of the time what we do is we don't give more work, we give different work. So many times we will give like a choice menu where the students get to choose the activity that kind of speaks to them. So for example, last year we read Hatchet in 5th grade, and so as an extension, I asked my high achieving and GATE students to extend their knowledge of Canada, because the book was set in Canada. So as far as geography, weather, plants, and animals go, they were able to learn more about those three topics and show their learning in a creative way based on some of the options that I provided here. So they could have written a journal entry from the viewpoint of an explorer. They could have researched the weather and created a weather map, or they could have researched the geography of the area and drew a scene or painted a scene or created a PowerPoint. So that's an example, and many of the teachers at Wolf Canyon do use choice menus because one of the nice things about these is many times children shine in different ways, and so this is the way that they're able to show their knowledge and shine in their own way. One of the other things that I often use, is book club. So we read a book, and then at the end of the book, after discussing it, they're able to choose a way that they understand or show their understanding of the book. Many students like to use their cinematography skills and create like a sort of movie trailer for the book. Or they'll use a PowerPoint to show the characters. Something else that I've used before that a few other people have used is an independent study project where they choose a subject that they're interested in and they learn more about it. For example, last year I had students interested in learning about the brain. Well, we don't talk about the brain in 5th grade science. They do in 6th grade, but they wanted to know now. So they went ahead and they researched information about the brain. They chose the way that they presented the information to the class, and we were all better for it. So those are just some of the ways that we provide extra pushes for these GATE students to help deepen their understanding beyond what the majority of the students need.
Very good. I just want to point out one thing in the pamphlet that I added for us is the fact that there is a comparison chart of what a high achieving student looks like and a GATE student. It's a very big misconception that GATE is only identifying high achieving students. The GATE brain is completely different. The GATE child has a brain that is more mature. When you throw information, it just sticks like flies on a paper. You know, you don't have to repeat anything twice. And so when we did our study, I kind of collected information and put those two comparison charts for you. A lot of parents come up and tell me, they say, Mr. Lee, my child is reading at the 8th grade level, they're doing high school level math, but how come they didn't qualify for GATE? Right? They get that letter that says your child doesn't qualify for GATE, and they're just confused. Most parents believe that GATE means high achieving, and that's not always the case. GATE children have a need to be pushed in all areas. Some people have gifts with music. Some people have gifts with logic and reasoning. Some people have gifts in math. So when we assess our students and when we look at our students, we really have to find their true gifts and talents. So, you know, I made the little comparison chart for you just to see. This is a high achieving student, great student, always paying attention, turns in their work, scores well on tests, but this is a GATE student, you know, and there are things that stand out to us quite a bit. One thing that I tell our friends is, the GATE students, I can easily tell. They're the ones that get my jokes and my puns because their brain is very mature and they get my jokes. that's a quick way to see if this child is gay. You know, it's not the most scientific form, but I can already kind of tell, you know, like that child might be gay. Let's have them evaluated. So that's something that I added into the brochure for us.
And in this classroom, we have superheroes. That's why we're all wearing our superhero shirts, because you guys are the superheroes. So at Wolf Canyon, we have lots of superheroes with lots of superpowers. They're all over. So that being said, we're gonna kind of get started with kind of the beginning parts of being a volunteer. And some of you have volunteered here before. Some of you are new. So we welcome our new volunteers and we welcome our old volunteers tonight. One of the first things that's required is to have a current TB test on file in the school office. And in our last session, we found out that they are good for 3 years. So once you submit it, they're good for 3 years. Along with that, when you walk into the school office, there will be a computer. And that's where you need to log in. And we found out recently at a meeting with Mrs. McLaren that once you enter your name and provide a valid ID, a background check is done through a product called Raptor. And that's a really good thing these days. And so if your name does not match what's on your driver's license, we kind of get a red flag. And that's good. So we found that out, and so that kind of makes us all breathe a little bit easier. But background checks are done through that logging on of the computer. In addition to which, once you log in, it's going to spit out a little badge. And it's going to be a sticker, and it's going to be blue, and it's going to say volunteer. We as adults on this campus have been trained that when we see adults that are not staff members, if they have that sticker, then we know who you are. But if you are not wearing a sticker, we are going to ask who you are, what are you doing here, and why don't you have an ID? So that badge is very crucial because we need to know who you are and we need to make sure that our school campus is safe at all times. Superheroes always have reminders. Once we're on campus and we've done the background check and the FBI has done a thorough check and they're all cleared, then you get to come on campus. One of the things we recommend is silencing your cell phones when you enter the campus, whether it's a school office or the classroom. We know we all have our phones, but it's important to silence those so that we don't interrupt that classroom learning. Along with that, if an emergency arises and you have to take a phone call, we understand that, certainly. You can take it outside in the hallway, you can go outside of the classroom, but again, we don't want to have those cell phones out and ringing and texting when we're volunteering in the classroom. Because we're going to keep you pretty busy. I don't think you'll have time to text because we're going to keep you pretty busy. And another good one is as you're walking to the class or you're walking to the print room, let's not peek in the windows and kind of wave, hi, how's it going, sweetheart? We all want to do that as moms and dads and grandmas and aunts and uncles. I get that, but we don't want to disrupt that classroom learning time. And again, we love younger siblings, but we just can't have them come with you. So please, if you're going to volunteer, make arrangements so that the sibling can play with grandma and grandpa and you can come and volunteer in the classroom. So, what to do in an emergency? Now, this seems a little bit serious, but we do have to have this protocol in place. As we all know, things are happening on a daily basis and we need to be in the know and not out of the loop. So if you are on campus volunteering, in the event of an evacuation drill or a real evacuation, you're always going to proceed right out to the blacktop where we do the morning message. And again, Mrs. McLaren goes on the intercom, she makes announcements, she'll walk us through what we do. In the event of an evacuation off this campus, it will not be on the blacktop. We proceed out the front of the school and we head to the park that's right over here to the left of our school. So when we practice our drills with our kiddos, we practice going to the blacktop. We also practice going to our secondary site. Because again, when we have these drills or real earthquake, disaster drills, or lockdowns, we have to have checklists to make sure everyone's accounted for. So when you log into that computer, again, that's something that's going to come with us on the drill. We're going to be able to cross-check to make sure we're not missing any of you either. We don't leave anyone down. Also, we have red backpacks located in every classroom, and that's what we're going to take out with us to the fire drills. So in the event of emergency, if you're in a classroom and the teacher says, hey, I need the red backpack, parent volunteer, it's always going to be under the sink or right next to the sink. And if we have a lockdown, earthquake, or disaster drill, always listen to the announcements being made because, for instance, when we do a lockdown, Mrs. McLaren is very succinct. This is a lockdown, please proceed with lockdown procedures. If you're in the print room, if you're in the bathroom, if you're in the library, you're gonna stay put, listen to her directions, and then follow what she says. So, what am I gonna do once I get to the classroom? So many things will probably scare you away. No. One of the big things is making copies. Now, we have a print room. How many of you have been to that print room? All right, quite a few of you. How many have never been to that print room? Okay, so if we have time, I might take you on a field trip. I didn't get the last group there. Right now, our print room is a little bit under construction. It's like a sauna in there. We've got some plumbing issues. So it's been kind of hot, so it's been a little rough in there. We have 2 machines when you walk in. The one closest to the window requires no code. You can run, staple, collate, run double-sided copies. The machine on the far wall does require a teacher code, and the teacher will write that code for you. Keep that under lock and key, because those are our numbers that we have to use. Also, there's another machine closest to the door called a Rizzo. It is a dinosaur, but it works wonderfully. It's for making copies more than 30. So if a teacher says to you, I need you to make 150 of these on the Rizzo, that's the machine that makes multiple copies. And it uses less masters, and it's very economical for our school. It gets a lot of heavy use. We also have a laminator. For those of you that aren't familiar with laminators, they're the things that cover paper and plastic so that our signs maintain their beautifulness. If I go to all the work to make a beautiful sign, I want to keep it laminated. So the laminator is always on, and there's usually a sign that will say, please leave laminator on. If the green light is on, then you know it's warmed up, because the laminator has to warm up in order for the plastic to adhere to the paper. If it isn't warmed up, then you just put the power button on. Usually it will blink to green when it's ready, and then you can laminate. And again, those of you who have never volunteered, I know you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't know I had to have an engineering degree in copy machines and laminators. When you walk into the print room, there's always going to be a parent or 2 who's going to say, hey, look new. Would you like me to show you how to use the machine? And then my volunteers mentor my other volunteers, and it's wonderful. So don't fret, don't think, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to read up online about copy machines. We've got you covered. The other thing you might be doing is a lot of checking of homework folders and going through checking off lists. Usually teachers will leave a clipboard of your honey-do list of all the things they need to get done. Also, you might have the privilege of getting to meet with some small groups, or maybe working with kids one-on-one, listening to them read, practice activities. And that's, to me, one of my favorite things to let parents do, because the kids get so excited when they get to read to a parent helper and get a sticker on a chart or get a high five. Also, prepping for classroom work. In kinder, we have a lot of prep. And in the upper grades, not as much. But sometimes it's just that simple cutting and gluing and preparing. And one of the parents in the other session asked a great question. What if I'm a kinder mom and there are 4 other kinder moms and I want to help? Well, it could be that we take those 4 kinder moms and you run something for the whole grade level. And that really helps us, because then that keeps us kind of afloat rather than drowning in all the things that we have to get done. So sometimes we kind of group our volunteers and kind of have you work on a big project. That being said, once you've gotten your to-do list from your teacher, there are a few do's and don'ts when you're in the classroom. One of the things we ask is when you come into the classroom, we don't necessarily need you to come and sit down next to you. Oh, hi, how's it going, honey? You're doing so good. We want that to be when you get home. We really don't want you to kind of interrupt. We want us to have that learning time, and we want you to kind of get started, because we've always got lots for you. We also, and this is a big one, don't want you to report out to other parents what you see happening. Oh boy, did you see that Jane Payne? She was pitching a fit today. I can't. We don't want that. We don't want reporting out. We don't need to have parent vigilantes at our schools saying things and doing things. So please, let's not report out to other parents. Let's keep that confidential. Along with that too, we would request that you don't interrupt us by kind of wanting to have a conference. Oh, how's Jane doing? Is she listening? Is she following? Is she reading her books? That's what conferences and emails and things are for. This is a time for us to have you help us. We can always help you by talking about your child and all their great things at a later time. And again, this is a big one. We request that you're not taking pictures in the classroom, because we do have parents who request their children not have pictures taken for whatever reason, and we have to honor that. And we as teachers know, because we have papers collected, but we don't want pictures taken and shared or put on Facebook or any social media, because we want to protect and we want to adhere to what our parents want. So When using the copy machines in our sauna room, as we call it, there are a few things to keep in mind. One of which is if there are staff members in there, let them have priority. They might be needing a few extra copies right before the beginning of the day. It's really important that we give them that time. Also, there's a poster on the outside of the window, and it will kind of say the hours that the print room is open that you can use. And let's say I walk in and there's no paper. So what am I gonna do? Well, I could call the school office, and there's a phone in there, and let Miss Vicki know, and she'll send Miss Letitia down with some paper. If I'm using the machine, all of a sudden it jams, and I shake the machine and it still won't do what it's supposed to do, I can call Miss Vicki, and she's gonna come on down and she's gonna help and fix the jam if she can. It's really important that you take care of this because for the next person coming in, if there's a jam, then they can't do their work, and then we kind of have a domino effect. And again, this is a big one because our machines get very heavy use. Being that we're now up to 900 students, they're getting a lot of use. And so this is gonna be a key point in keeping those machines running. So when you're volunteering, it's important to remember a few superhero expectations. One of which is superheroes always need to dress appropriately. So you gotta leave your capes and masks at home, just for the time you volunteer. But we wanna make sure that you're dressed appropriately at school. We also wanna make sure that you're not using bad language. That's a really important one. You're role models, we're role models. We really wanna make sure that the kiddos are seeing the role models using appropriate language so that that's what goes forward. Along with that, we're going to ask, I should say, that you not give students any candy or food. We have a plethora of food allergies: dairy, gluten, chocolate, wheat, you name it. And so we can't allow you to share food or candy because we don't know what repercussions those can have down the way. Along with that, no gum chewing is allowed on campus. If we see kids chewing, we're gonna have them spit out the gum. If you're chewing gum, we're probably gonna ask you to do the same thing because again, we want to be those role models. And again, no smoking, is a smoke-free environment. And if you are a LuLaRoe person or a jewelry person, we're not gonna sell our wares at school. We're not gonna have our trench coat and sell our Rolexes. If you have flyers that you wanna pass out, they do have to be approved by the district first. Once they're approved, you can pass those flyers out. But again, we really need your help because with you, we are much stronger and we really get the job done. This is sports. We have flag football, we have basketball, and we have soccer. Flag football is co-ed. Co-ed meaning boys and girls. It's flag football, just pulls the flag off. No tackle, no hurting. Basketball, boys and girls, meaning there is a boys team and a girls team. Two separate teams. Soccer, it is a girls team only, no boys team. Different quarters, basketball and soccer happen at the same time. Really close to each other. It's a very busy blacktop area and grass when these two are going on. All the sports, when they do happen, is school first. Just like it is in high school, just like it is in college. If your grades and your work in school aren't okay and your teacher feels that you can't keep up, the teacher will tell the coach or the advisor, and that student will not be able to continue playing. You have to get permission from your teachers, and you have to maintain that. So just remember, if you want any specifics, contact those teachers, go on the website, get their email. That's the best way to contact anybody, okay? All right.
We do have an art teacher that is here daily, and we also have a music teacher that's here daily, but these programs are separate from that. So the first one is Glee, which is run by Mrs. McLaren, our principal. So if you'd like more information on that, it's just Deborah.McLaren at cdesd.org. And they meet every Wednesday from 12:15 to 12:45, beginning the second quarter. It's open to grades 4 through 6, and our Glee Club performs usually at Christmas time on KUSI, and they have various performances here at our school, and the kids love watching them. And then they also perform, I believe you said, at Rancho Del Rey Middle School, so they lots of opportunities to perform throughout the year, and they're wonderful, they're so cute. We also have an instrumental program through our wonderful music teacher, Mrs. Casimiro, we call her Mrs. C. And Mr. Nixon, one of the teachers here, also helps with that program. Again, it's grades 4 through 6, co-ed. And we have a recorder club that meets Mondays after school, a guitar club that is Wednesdays after school, and string ensemble that meets Monday and Wednesday before school. So if you have would like any information on those, please contact Mrs. C. And all of our email addresses are first name dot last name at cbesd.org. So if you want any of that information from us afterwards, just let us know. We'll tell you their first and last name.